everybody, and welcome back to What the Fun Show. My name is Mike, and today we are going to be reviewing episode 4 of The Rings of Power. I am joined, as usual, by my co-hosts, Joe Kelly. How's it going?
That's me. It's going good, man. I'm excited to be back for episode 4.
Yes, good. Good to have you back. We missed you on the previous episode. And speaking of Justin, welcome back. How's the duck doing?
I'm doing good. I can't wait to talk about this mediocre episode. I'm just kidding. I can't wait to talk about episode 4.
Very mid episode.
Yeah, very mid.
All right. Well, if you can't tell by kind of our grins, if you're watching the YouTube version, we're pretty excited about this show. But first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. If you were watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below what you thought about Rings of Power episode 4 and what you think about the series as a whole so far. Obviously, if you're listening to us on a podcatcher of choice, please leave a review. Leave us a 5-star review, leave us a 4-star review, whatever you want, actually. Just let us know how we're doing. We would really appreciate it. If you're on Apple iTunes, please leave an actual review. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know how you like the show, how we can improve, maybe even what content you would like to see in the future. We would just love to hear from you in general. If you want to email us, you could send us an email at whatthefunpodcast@gmail.com. And you could follow us on Twitter and Facebook at whatthefunpod. Hey, a little sneak peek. As of this recording, tomorrow you will be seeing a new series coming out featuring me and Justin on the Halloween franchise. Because we are huge horror fans and Halloween Ends comes out this October 14th. And so we're really excited to be reviewing the original Halloween, 1978, with Halloween 2018, and Halloween Kills. There's the Michael Myers mask if you're watching the YouTube version. We're going to be reviewing all of those, the new continuity, the new timeline. We're going to be reviewing that series. So stay tuned for all of that. If you're listening to this episode, it was released yesterday, so go take a look at that original Halloween review. So that's all we got here. There's also Hocus Pocus coming too. You know, a little bit of surprise revealed there too. So we'll be reviewing all that.
So we're going to start off on Halloween 3, the Season of the Witch, right? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, it really fits in with the Hocus Pocus, like witch theme. All right, let's get into it, gentlemen. Episode 4, The Great Wave. Budget of probably $1 billion or something. Released last Friday. Directed by Wayne Chi Yip, who has he did the last episode. Mm-hmm. We'll be doing episode 5, and then is also the director of the finale. So he's doing a really good job so far. And so let's get into it. Spoiler-free review of episode 4. We'll go Justin's way first. Joe, number 2, what's your spoiler-free review?
From the duck here. With the last let me start here. With the last episode, I talked about how the needle moved a little bit with a few gripes. This just blew that out of the water. This took my hype for the show up to way higher than I thought it could go. This episode is definitely my favorite of the season so far. And Lord of the Rings, characters you may or may not have known. And great storytelling, great cinematography, and that score to round it out. It took the cake for so far this season. Episode 4 is my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know if I could say episode 4 was my favorite yet, but I did really enjoy it. Joe, spoiler-free, patent-pending review.
Well, if you wanted more elves, guess what? They're here. And if you wanted orcs, we found them too. Did you want Harfoots, a.k.a. hobbits, way back in the day, thousands of years beforehand? Yep. They're back as well. Do we have
not.
Dark, grim, tall thing?
They were not in episode 4, by the way.
Were they not in this one?
No.
Was that episode 3?
Yeah, you're spoiler-freeing episode 3.
I'm an episode behind, that's right. Okay, wait. Numenorians. Is that a term?
Yeah,
that?
Yeah, Numenorians. No, you can't trademark that. It's already established.
No, I just did it. So Numenorians are back. We've got like salt and pepper gray hair. He's here. We've got a mythical queen lady. Not a queen, regent. She's back, and she had a dream.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That review was a little
Left
off
field.
the rails, but we'll take it.
It was perfect.
Episode 4. What the reason why I really enjoyed this episode, and speaking of the title, The Great Wave, this was a wave of where we're going, right? Like this is the bridge episode. This is the episode that is setting up the rest of the season. We kind of see the story threads and how they're going to be pursued for the rest of the season. And yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I don't know if it's my favorite just yet. It seemed like a lot of filler on the surface, but you really needed this episode. It was kind of necessary to again bridge the gap to where they're going to be going. So with that being said, the cinematography, the set pieces, just once again, where the money went. This show is such a treat to Lord of the Rings fans, and to fantasy fans in general. So yeah, a lot of good stuff happening here. Let's get into the thick of it. This is your spoiler warning if you have not seen episode 4. Hey, you. What are you doing?
Who, me?
Do you want to be spoiled? No? Well then,
Stop it. Get some help.
so you don't feel like this guy. Instead, let it be a surprise.
Oh, I like surprises.
So go watch the thing before you move on in the podcast, okay?
Alrighty then.
All right, that was your spoiler warning. Let's get into it, gentlemen. Gazing into a Palantir. Muriel has a vision of the tidal wave destruction of Numenor.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hers isn't a dream originally. It's not until
Technically.
later we learned that she was, given that
Muriel's
vision.
the regent, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. She definitely woke up from a bad dream. This huge wave taking over the entire island, pretty much destroying it.
Yeah.
Biblical portion wave coming at them. And a telltale sign was the leaves of the trees flying all over the place, kind of as the wind was being pulled. Definitely woke her up, kind of like a changing of tides of you need to wake up right now or something bad's going to happen in her own life.
Yeah, and to speak a little bit into this outline on Wikipedia might not be the best because I don't know if she was gazing into a Palantir at that point.
No.
She was not.
No, she was.
Yeah,
just dreaming.
she was just dreaming. So we will speak to the correction of that. Yeah, she was
It was
literally
all a
just
dream.
dreaming. Yeah, it was
She
just
used to read
dreaming.
Word Up magazine.
But to
Salt and
to
pepper.
kind of go a little bit forward into the episode, we come to find out why she is having these dreams
Yeah, I
because
think she might have-
she does have access to a Palantir.
Yeah, I think she might have been recalling it through a nightmare of what she
Yeah.
saw through her visions of the Palantir. So it's definitely it definitely plays a role. We'll get there though. Yeah. So she wakes up scared, of course.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just another showcase of their visuals once again. Just watching the tidal waves go through Numenor. It just looked phenomenal. Looked scary, but looked phenomenal at the same time. So Chancellor Farazan or Parazan, I would
Farazan.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
He encourages discord between the Numenorians and elves. So some of the Numenorians, including the one that got in the fight with Elrond or Albrand, sorry,
Halbrand.
Albrand, sorry, was trying to sort of conjure up a mob of sorts to overthrow the regent and the power. So, Joe, what did you think of this sort of squelching from the Chancellor here?
I mean, I understand why he did it, but it was pretty like dirty, right? He comes in and he's like, "Oh yeah, your queen regent does this, but this is what I believe, so I think it's a play for the throne. He wants to
me
have
too.
that seat.
100%.
We know what's up with the king, but the Numenorians are unaware of how ill he really is. I think Farazan has an idea though, and I think he's going. This is the spoiler episode. We're
I
in the
know,
spoiler
and I'm
part.
just kidding.
doing it.
Gosh.
So I think it was done well, right? I think they did
Yeah.
a really good job with it. But he's a bit of a turd bucket, right? Like we don't. he leaves a dirty taste in our mouth.
Yeah.
After this scene.
Yeah, he sort of has this like, I don't know, this like Count Dooku vibe to him. Like, he's trying to play nice with the Jedi in Attack of the Clones, when he has Obi-Wan, kind of, hey, I'm actually working still on your side, but no, I'm actually not. Justin, what is Farazan up to?
I want to put this out there, a through line here for fans listening. Saruman does not make an appearance here. Count Dooku does not. But a character that is
true.
like him does. This is the first time that we really see the Numenorians and the elves kind of like through line relationship of if they do hate each other, if they don't, get along. This is something that, we finally get that. We talked about it in the last episode of we don't really know if they hate each other, but they're just not on each other's turf most of the time. And this is like a really, really concrete way of showing this is an island of men. This is not supposed to be an island of elves. And it really, it really concretes that for us to know the relationship. So that's what's really big with the queen, or her outlook on Arendelle or Ellen. I'm getting wrong names. Yeah, Galadriel. Her outlook on Galadriel, and really making it seem like she needs to think of how the people view her, and also what her dad would have wanted at the same time, because that's a big part of it, of keeping his essence flowing through this island, and it's tough.
Yeah, but still, see, she almost stops. She almost squelches even that opportunity until sort of the end of the episode. So let's continue with the outline here. So Albrand manipulatively well advises Galadriel. So Galadriel's put in prison. I think this is this outline here is very bare bones, at least in this sentence. So Galadriel is put into prison after going to the regent, Muriel, and she tells her of all the plans that she can foresee is happening with Sauron, right? And she's asking Muriel for help in all this to, raise an army, in essence, to fight against the forces of Sauron and the orcs there. And Muriel has none of it. She's sort of, she kind of knows what happens in the future based on the Palantir. We haven't gotten to that scene yet, but obviously she's going to disagree with whatever Galadriel says, and so she's thrown into prison. Two cells down from Albrand. So Justin, take us into this scene. Galadriel is sort of advised by Albrand to do a little sneaking around.
Yeah, so Albrand really compares her to a horse a lot. And how she is tough-headed, she's thick-headed, but when she wants something, she's going to go as hard as she can to get it. And this is really the chance she gets to understand she needs to look at the big picture here. And she eventually, she is called to be taken to the boats and taken out of the island. Just taken. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of the problem. Nip it in the buns. And she decides, I'm going to fight all of these guards with little to no effort, because she is a very good warrior. And then break in up the tower where Grandpa the King is, the original
Grandpa.
Yeah, is to go and speak with him directly, because that's what she really wanted to do, and that's what got her thrown in the first place, is undermining the queen, and trying to talk above her, pretty much. So yeah, this is an interesting scene of
Yeah.
her walking in and meeting Grandpa for the first time, and also seeing the queen waiting for her, knowing
Yeah.
that she was going to show up.
Joe, behind the scenes, me and Justin know, but our audience doesn't know that you're still not too up on Galadriel here. Do you like her sort of persistence going on right now?
Sure. It's standard female protagonist. Strong-willed, thick-headed. I'm going to push forward regardless. It's very typical for, that character, that role.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what I expect. I think they've done a good job with it. She's still not my favorite. I'm hoping for a breakout episode where like I see that change that she, that we know is coming, that needs to happen. This was kind of it, but not really. Mostly this was just her being manipulated by two different people at the same time and like trying to play it off as her own ideas, but it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you on that. But yeah, Galadriel does get up to the king, the rightful king,
She seeks
and
an audience with the king.
Yes, she does. And come to find out that he's very sick, as Joe already said earlier. And
He's
Muriel
old.
is trying to hide that, and trying to make it seem that the king is not bedridden, but rather doing things behind the scenes, so to speak. So, yeah, let's go on a little bit further here in the outline, because I do want to wait until we get to the Palantir here. So Adar. Adar appears to be a scarred elf from the Elder Days. And I want to applaud Justin. I had thought that this could potentially just be a early reveal of Sauron, but it is not. Adar is his own dude. So what do you think of this new antagonist here, Justin?
Oh, I like it. I like the fact that it was never spoken in the episode that he was an elf. It was all like given to you as face value. And he spoke about his childhood, which kind of gave us like reference. Oh, he's been to these lands. He's been to where the elves grew up. But it was never said like, I know where you're from. I've been there. I was born there. I like that they kept it very kind of like mild, direct message like that. And he also had a lot of remorse towards the orcs themselves. He had to literally put one down in front of everyone. And he did it in a very compassionate and almost graceful way. So he's definitely not a straight elf anymore. He's definitely on the darker side in a way. And I feel like his character holds a lot of weight. Not as much as Sauron's going to, but enough that he's a threat, and you need to listen to him and do what he says, or else, yeah. So definitely good. The talk between him and Adar was good. I liked it. They shared a lot of similarities in their characters, which is kind of worrisome, but I think it's a very good representation of some of the early half elves or turned elves, fallen elves. I think it's very good.
Joe, did you like Adar from afar?
He was fine, right? I mean, we don't get a whole lot of him, and I guess I'm intrigued mostly. Interested to see more of like why he is the way he is. But as far as his on-screen time, he clean kills the one orc and then has like a little conversation with Alandir, and then that's basically all we get. I mean,
yeah,
there's almost nothing. We see that he's very pale. So he's a pale elf.
Yeah.
And he is pretty haggard looking. But for the most part, it was just I'm interested and intrigued to see what they do with that character. Because really all we got was an introduction to, okay, he is a being and he happens to be an elf. And now we'll see in the next 4 episodes what he turns into.
Yeah, and I'm also interested to see like where in. So obviously there's going to be multiple, antagonists, and so I'm kind of interested to see where Adar is in kind of like this hierarchy. Is he Sauron's like right-hand man at this point, or is he just, leader of one of the orc armies? Like what is his deal? What sort of role is he going to play going forward? Because the way that he was played was very menacing, and I really enjoyed that sort of conversation that he had with Alandir. And yeah, as you said, he's a fallen elf, so that it was mostly like a sympathetic conversation and like a empathetic in a way where Adar can really relate to Alandir and sort of start that conversation in that relationship on the right foot, depending on how you look at it. So, Justin, were you biting to say something?
Well, like post-show last episode, we talked about if it was Sauron and how I can't think of this. Dude, these names are getting crazy with me. How the elf, are the good elf, Adar was
the good elf, Alandir.
Alandir was going to get free and survive because he was a main character, and we didn't want to see Sauron get betrayed or turned or made feel like he was weaker than he actually is, especially on a first appearance. So this was a way that they could do that with a smaller character and also show grace through that character of, I'm letting you go to send a message. That completely is understandable and doesn't make him feel any weaker. So I like that.
Well, I mean, it's a play. It's a strategic play, right? This is the strategery of Sauron and his little minions, right? It's not. It's sort of kind of what we were talking about last week about how you can, I believe this was after we recorded, but how you can introduce Sauron in this, 4th episode, but then like see what he starts to manipulate throughout the rest of the season. Whereas now, it's sort of the same function, but utilizing Adar instead of Sauron. So Adar is going to be planting those seeds of doubt within Alandir and eventually the people, the humans that are taking refuge in that same tower that Alandir started his journey off with. And yeah, I like this sort of manipulative like villain and seeing where his strategy lies. Joe, anything else?
No, I was just going to make comparisons. Like, is he going to be the worm tongue to Sauron, or is he going to be the worm tail to Voldemort?
Okay, I hear you.
So worm tongue was kind of integral for a minute, holding his place, holding the kingdom of Rohirrim, or the kingdom of Rohan, and the Rohirrim kind of hostage. Whereas Wormtail has always kind of been weak, but served a purpose. So will Adar be that weak, serve a purpose, or will he be the useful servant that later will, because of that empathy and because he's an elf, have that lapse in judgment that leads to the inevitable downfall of Sauron? But we'll see.
And I think it might be leaning, at least my gut feeling is the latter of what you just said. Like I think Adar is going to play a slightly bigger role than what we see of, other, henchmen, so to speak.
I think so too.
But we'll see. We'll see where that goes. But anyway, Justin, Adar does release Alandir again to give a surrender offer to the humans taking refuge in the Orc Tower. And that offer is basically
bow down to me.
Bow down. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a pretty powerful message. Either do what I say or you're dead. That's kind of the end. That's kind of the end of the elf story in this for the most part, other than later with the dwarves. But then we get our bullhead, his name, Bullcut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Little
I
bowl
forget
cut
it. Bull cut. I forget his name, but
Theo.
Theo.
We
Theo.
stick with bowl cut.
Yep, Theo.
So
There we go.
so Theo
Bowl
and the
cut.
company that he's in, he's obviously the son. Sees that everyone's going hungry. You know, rations are getting scarce. And he has an idea. He has a plan. Oh, the next town over is empty during the day because orcs don't go out during the day. Let's go over there and get all the food. And his mom's like, no, we'll just hunt and scavenge from the land. And that doesn't really pan out for her. But he goes with his plan anyway, with his best friend or his friend, and goes to this town anyway, grabs a wheelbarrow, grabs as much food as possible, ends up having a little bit of a thrill because he's like, oh, the tavern's probably got food, and his friend doesn't want to go in, but he does. And we get that horror element door slam behind him and scurrying around.
Hmm.
Come to find out, lurking in the background is an orc that attacks him. And this is not the first time we've seen him in a fight as a kid, right? So
Yeah.
he ends up doing something insane, which is pulling that hilt out of his pocket, jabbing his arm with it, and it, God, the
Becomes a
visuals,
sword.
the visuals on this is insane. And immediately the orc recognizes it and wants it for himself. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and that's really what they're seeking.
Yeah.
You know, that particular weapon is what Adar wants. And so, yeah, I mean, Joe, you have this sort of, you know, you have this kid who is kind of confident with that sword, and
Maybe ish.
man, I mean, confident in the way that like he seems like he thinks that he has protection and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But
Oh yeah, this kid is very sure of himself, which
yes.
is
Mhm.
Dangerous.
I think dangerous, yeah, but like not earned. This kid is
Mhm.
for all intents and purposes, this kid is a bit of a loser. He is a nobody up until he steals this sword hilt. He's kind of a turd of a kid, and then cuts himself, realizes, has the glowy symbol thing, and then somehow this episode he knows all he has to do is jab himself with the arm with it, and then it's gonna be a sword. So he stabs himself in the forearm, and now bam, flamey sword. And suddenly he's hot stuff. He knows how to use it. No, he doesn't. He's still a kid who knows nothing.
Yeah.
And it showed, right? He did not win that
Mhm.
fight. He ended up looking. He got mud on his face. We'll put it that way. He ended up having to run away. He
Yeah.
had to hide. He got left behind by his so-called friend, who just absolutely bailed on him. He's all scary. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And now he's stuck in a town full of orcs. They know he has what they want, and he's up in a well, right?
Yeah. I mean,
he jumps in a well, and he's stuck in a well now.
which cues up my favorite scene of the whole episode. This dark thriller, horror-esque type of scene where he's out of the well at this point. It's pitch dark, and he's trying to, for some reason, still trying to save some of the food. At this point, it's like, why are you trying to get food? Just like get out of there.
Well,
And
to be fair, he did hide that hilt in the bag of food, so he wanted to go back and get that. That was his goal. He hid it in that bag.
oh, I didn't see him hide
Yeah,
it
'cause
in the bag.
He pulled it
Oh.
out later on when he dumped it out. So
Oh, okay.
I want to talk about the cinematography just in this scene because it is also one of my favorites from this episode. One, when he's in the well, an orc takes a drink of the bucket above him and then slams it down, and water splashes not only his head but immediately the camera as well, which puts you in there. Really immerses you. Then comes the chase scene that Mike talked about when he gets out of that well. This is a clean one cut from what I saw. So this is from one position all the way to the end of that chase in one clean cut, and it's very sneaky-esque. He jumps in some bushes, you see some orcs behind in the foreground, then you see some come around the corner and he's jumping behind other stuff. It's really well done, and it really immerses you in with him as if you're the one they're trying to look for as well.
Exactly. And
Hats off.
yeah, the visuals on this scene, I just loved it. it was so good. The timing in which the orcs pop out, as well as the timing in which the final orc pops out, does find him, catches him, and then Alandir does end up saving him. And then you get this chase scene through the forest of like hundreds of orcs. I don't know how many, but it seemed like hundreds of orcs.
Yeah, it was a bunch.
It was a bunch, chasing Alandir, Theo, as well as his mom. His mom does end up showing up as well. And yeah, just the fight scene in general, the slow motion in this particular scene was good as well. Again, it was utilized in a non-weird Galadriel way.
Yeah,
Yes.
that slow motion in that chase scene, when he turns and grabs an arrow out of midair before it pierces Theo's heart. Insane. Insane.
Yeah.
Seemed like a Marvel movie at that point.
Mhm.
Excellent. Joe, go ahead. What do you got?
I don't know why you use Marvel.
Well, superheroes.
Sorry, that's what I got. It was good. I really liked that scene. It was great. I would take it back to the grandfather at this point of the slow-mo with the Matrix, but it was very Matrix-esque for like made sense, done well, like beautifully shot, or probably not shot. Pun intended? I don't know. But yeah.
I don't know.
Really good.
I would say
All right.
Matrix if Hugo Weaving was in it, but unfortunately not.
This would be a better show if Hugo
we'll
Weaving
get
was in
to,
it.
I mean, or not.
No, it would
Yeah. I mean, it might not. You just don't know. All right. The orcs do end up finding out that the ancient artifact Evil Sword is in that tower with Theo. And here's an interesting scene where the bartender, he shows up. He knows that Theo has the hilt, the sword, because he is another person who has taken part in stabbing himself to sort of what's implied here is that the person who stabs himself is a servant of Sauron. And so Theo is, he's got some doom and gloom days coming here, right, Joe?
I'm assuming so. I think that it's going to come back to bite him. And maybe he'll have that hero's journey of where, he has his dark days and then he has a moment of redemption. Ideally, that's what happens. But I'd be okay if there was a little bit more weight in the show and he didn't. And he just ended up having a dark path that he goes on. And that's where his path leads. There is no redemption. Yeah. I'd be totally okay with that story.
I'm going to, a hot take here. That's what they should have done with Kylo Ren. I wish that he didn't have a redemption arc, and I am totally with you. It is totally fine to have what is seemingly a protagonist just not be. And like, if they go down that road, if he does become purely evil, kudos to them, because I think that would be the antithesis of what Hollywood does, and I think that would be a brilliant and cool design choice for the script here. So we'll see where Theo goes. As of right now, it's not looking that great. I want to save Elrond and the dwarves for the last talk. So let's go back to Galadriel here. Galadriel she snuck up to the king's tower where we find out that he is sick. And Muriel and Galadriel, they have this conversation, each one of them trying to kind of convince why they're not a good fit for each other, why they need to be separated here. And Galadriel does end up coming face to face with a Palantir. She knows what a Palantir is. I believe she or Muriel say that there's like 7 or 10 of them out in the world, but Galadriel has never touched this Palantir. And Justin, she touches it and she sort of sees the same vision that Muriel had.
Yeah, the waves, the biblical portion, destruction of the island. That's really the best way to put it, And if you don't get that, it's a tidal wave. If you've seen San Andreas, a tsunami that is taller than skyscrapers hitting these islands. and just destroying everything. So obviously she's on the same page now. She sees what could be the future or could not.
Or cannot. You never know. And so Joe, Galadriel is still trying to convince Muriel that despite this vision and destruction, potentially caused specifically by Galadriel being a Numenor herself, that's kind of the implication here that at least Muriel implies, or interprets rather.
Yeah.
Galadriel's still trying to convince Muriel that we should still join forces.
Yeah, they need to take on Sauron and Sauron's forces and the, evil and darkness and yada, yada, yada. That's her whole purpose, right? From the very first episode where her brother dies, like she has made it her literal life's goal to snuff out Sauron and his forces of evil and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, she's not going to give up on it. Obviously, she didn't give up on it when she had the chance to return to eternity of like happiness, whatever. She jumped off the
Valinor.
boat.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't forget the name. I just like.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I know.
the
I'm just
heaven-
no. I know you didn't
heaven-esque
forget the name. I'm
realm.
just putting in context for people who do forget names, which is potentially our
Probably most
audience.
people, and they're all-
And Justin.
But yeah, so she's gonna maintain her very steadfast focus and direction on we're getting back to the Southlands. That's where Sauron is. We need to go there. We need to beat him. We need to join forces. And Muriel's like, hey, I got this other stuff I'm worried about, like the literal impending doom of this giant wave, which I think is just metaphorical and not actually literal. But that's my take on it. And I think it is because
I could agree. I could agree.
Galadriel shows up. I think she sets off that, she's the earthquake that starts the tsunami. And I just think it's more metaphorical than literal.
I'm with you.
And I think it's all about next episode, probably either the next episode or the following. There's going to be some fecal fan combo and it's going to get bad.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But on to the dwarfs and the Mjolnir.
And the Mjolnir?
Yeah, the hammer.
Is there a hammer?
No.
I don't remember a hammer.
Technically, there's a chisel and another hammer.
I mean, there's
and it might not be the Mjolnir, but maybe it could be.
Anyway, with Galadriel and Muriel, that's basically the end of their story. Galadriel was sent off in the vision, the white leaves from the. Is that the tree of Gondor?
Yes. Well, it's the same. It's the same species. It all comes from Valinor. Those are they're saplings from
Okay,
Valinor.
so
It's not we're uprooting this and bringing it there.
I mean, they could. You never know. The tree of Gondor,
walks.
the leaves fall off, and then Muriel decides that, hey, we need to join forces with Galadriel because when the leaves fall, it is said that it is, it is fate that it's happening, not faith. They were talking about the difference between those two. Anyway, so yeah, Justin wants to talk about the dwarves and Mithril, not Mjolnir. Elrond, Joe's favorite character in this whole show. Elrond is sort of a little skeptical of Durin and why Prince Durin is not kind of showing up where they're building this refinery to create the rings. And so Elrond goes and talks to Durin's wife, and I really like this scene. Justin.
Yeah, Disa's great.
Yeah, she does a great job of trying to discredit anything Elrond says, and makes him feel like she is telling the truth the whole time. She's very well at manipulating the situation into ways that make sense, and ways that make sense for a dwarf, and an elf wouldn't really know that. So she does a great job, and he keeps trying to discredit her. Eventually, she feels like she did achieve her goal of keeping him distracted enough that he doesn't suspect anything's up. But he still thinks something's up, and he goes and listens in to a meeting of her and her husband, Durin. And I think that this scene here wasn't technically needed, but it gave direction to Elrond to continue this search and continue this suspicion. So
And
I-
it shows you elf ears. They're super good at hearing.
Yeah, yes. It showed you that super hearing power that he had from over a great distance, hearing every word as if he was standing next to them.
Yeah.
And he finds out that there is a mine underneath the old mine. That's where they're going, somewhere under the
Mhm.
old. And he decides to follow.
Yeah, so Joe, this harkens back to our first episode where when they opened the box, I had thought, and you had thought as well, that might have been the Arkenstone.
Arkenstone, yeah.
And I said
but
Mjolnir.
You didn't. Yeah, you said Mjolnir. But obviously, Joe, you and I were wrong. So they kind of go down to the mines there that that Prince Durin is mining for Mithril, and Elrond and him have this pact about, hey, can't tell anybody about Mithril here, and it all collapses actually, and all 4 of the dwarves that were down there were able to be saved. I believe all of them were kind of alive afterwards.
In the end, yeah.
In the end, so that was good. But it was Mithril all along, Joe, in that box in the first episode.
Yes, it was harder than steel, lighter than a feather. It's awesome, miracle thing, brand new, and they just found it at this point. So this, I mean, obviously this is what 2,500 years before the Lord of the Rings. So it makes sense that they would have known about it and known how to then work with it by that point in time. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens here. I'm excited to see what role Mithril plays in this. And I think that the pact that they made, because they promised on the mountain, because mountains live longer than elves, they needed something that would last forever, that would bond them in this secrecy. And then Durin gives him a bit of the Mithril. And I know that's going to play a part when he gets back to, was it Elendil? No. What's the dude's name? The old guy who makes the rings? I'm blanking on it.
No clue.
The
Anyways.
architect guy that designed the tower.
Yeah, that's the one. So when he gets back there, I have a feeling that conniving old man is going to
You're supposed to know.
get what he wants. I know I should, and yeah,
Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor. Yeah, there you go.
that's the one. Old creepy elf guy. who's
Old creepy elf
manipulating
dude.
Elrond.
So yeah, I mean, Mithril is certainly going to play a part into the rest of the season. Justin, maybe expound on this, but I also think that promise is going to play into the rest of the season, as far as, can Elrond keep this promise that he made to Durin?
Yeah, this is definitely something that's going to play a role, in my opinion. I feel like this is really going to test the character of Elrond and see how good of an elf, how good of a faithful friend he can be, and really put that little straw in there and see, which side he's going to choose. Is he going to keep this knowledge of what the dwarves found away from his elven company, or is he going to keep that friendship that he's been absent for 20 years? I feel like this is a good line. This is a good point for Elrond. And it might make Joe like Elrond's character a little bit more, because I feel like this is maybe humanizing him a little bit. And also making him
Maybe
have those choices that are going to affect
I think you're too
the
cynical, Joe.
entire story. I believe he's doing a great job, and I think he's really trying, and I can't wait to see what he does with it.
I mean, he has certainly, yeah, we cannot overstate it. He has big shoes to fill, because, Hugo Weaving, even though he was literally in maybe 20 minutes in total of the original trilogy, still did Elrond a very good service as far as within that. But I really enjoy how Elrond is being portrayed and how we are able to see more of his story, because you just don't get that in the Lord of the Rings. You get that a little bit more in The Hobbit, but we don't really like talking about that trilogy show. So
I think it's going to take a different path. I think that the promise is going to come into concern, because what's going to happen is Elrond's going to get back, and we know that he's being manipulated by Celebrimbor. That's the first thing that we see And I don't know why Durin won't come out and see me. I don't know. He's your friend. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I just don't get why he hasn't been out here. And then Elrond's like, oh, I'll fall for this one. Yeah, sure. Let me go see him and figure out what's up. Which is why I don't. Anyways, so I think what's going to happen is Elrond's going to come back. He's going to have the mithril on him. Celebrimbor is going to be sneaky creepy, go through his stuff, find it, and then Durin's going to think that Elrond, gave up the secret when, in all actuality, Celebrimbor is just a turd. That's what I think is going to happen.
That's like the second turd alert here. So
third. We
third,
got Bullcut Kid. He's a turd. We got Celebrimbor. He's a turd. Adar turd.
I believe the song is "I'm a dude, he's a dude."
Yeah, that's the one.
Anniversaries.
Yeah. Anywho, I think that this promise is really going to be a huge story thread, at least within this particular relationship, because even if it does play out that way that you said, Joe, that is still talking about back to that promise that they promised on the mountain that Elrond would not tell anybody about the mithril, and we'll see, and especially since we know that King Durin is still pretty suspicious as well. And so Prince Durin was kept back to continue the mining of mithril, but now King Durin is saying, hey, please go to Lindon, to see what's going on. With building of the forge, and what, that relationship, and what Celebrimbor, what Elrond is sort of up to. And I think Elrond is slightly innocent, at least that they've portrayed him to be at this point. Like, I don't think Durin's going to find much in Elrond, but I think once he gets there, he'll notice exactly what you're talking about, Joe, the manipulation of Celebrimbor. So, Justin, you excited for episode 5?
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, this, in comparison to the Halo TV show, by this time,
how many times are we gonna mention Halo?
By this time, episode 4, I was completely turned off, and I thought it was a turd. I didn't think it was going to.
But episode 4 was good. In Halo.
I still, like, you can't build up to be poop. And then be poop again after. I feel like this show has continued to amaze me in any way that it possibly can. They took something, and that's what's crazy about it, is Halo is something that I grew up with and I loved so much, and they destroyed it. And this is something I
didn't destroy it. I think that's huge language.
That's up for debate. This is something that I grew up with, read, loved, and it's so hard to fill those shoes, and they're doing a great job trying. And I can't say anything wrong about it for the most part. I feel like they're really doing it justice up until this point. And it could turn around, but right now they're doing a great job. Seriously.
So roll that into your rating. Again, we're talking about if you're still all in, or if you are optimistic and hopeful, or if you're concerned. I'm assuming you're still all in.
I'm super duper all in. I can't wait for 5. I can't wait for episode 5 to see Durin outside of the Elven City or the Dwarven City. I feel like that's going to be a funny situation regardless. And also to see more Andor, or Andar, not Andor. That's a Star Wars movie.
That's a Star Wars show.
Andar, fulfilling this promise of bow down or die. And there's gonna be some fights. Joe, get ready. There's gonna be some battles coming up shortly here. I feel it. I can see it in the distance.
Hey, Joe got his 100% story episode in episode 4, and we could have some action here soon. Joe, are you all in? Optimistic?
No. Yes. I'm
just
still optimistic.
So
I don't like Elrond. I don't see a connection between who he becomes and who he is now.
We got 6 seasons of Rings of Power, man. That might take a while.
Seasons?
It's 5 or 6, yeah, I think.
That's what it's been announced, yeah.
Well, then hopefully he grows into the. Right now, he's a naive idiot who's being manipulated by not smart elves. Galadriel is underwhelming for me. so far her story has been very boring, on bordering on like bad. So the highest points here for me have been the Harfoots, which I have an issue with the name, but so far their story's been interesting, and the elves, like Alandir has been good, and then the people. I'm very optimistic, but there's not a ton that has me all in on it. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
We'll just cut that and crop it and make it sound like you said all in. Go ahead, Mike.
I could not disagree with you more on Elrond and Galadriel. Joe. I'm just
me.
I just don't know where you're seeing it. Like I don't know what you're seeing, because the same show that I am watching with you here, I am seeing a really good foundation for both of those characters going forward, and their stories are so good, and I believe that they'll intertwine good as well. So I'm all in still on this show. I will say it once again, I would be all in just on visuals alone, because this show is so pretty. This show is so good looking, and that's not even touching what I think that are very good story beats going forward. And so let us know, listeners, if you are all in on the Rings of Power after episode 4. We'll see you next week for our review of episode 5, which is something that we're all looking forward to. So if you want to go ahead and follow us for social updates, hit us up on Facebook and Twitter at WhatTheFunPod. And please leave us a review. We would really appreciate it on any podcatcher of choice. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Go down below and let us know what you thought of episode 4, and we'll try to respond to you guys. And with half the season over here, I think that we are in for a treat. And so for Joe, for Justin, this has been our review of episode 4 of The Rings of Power. This is What the Fun Podcast. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.